Online. That's it. Everyone wave to Andy. Oh, look at that. Isn't it lovely?
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. So, welcome everyone then to this full council of Newquay Town Council on indeed the 1st of October 2025. The clerk is unfortunately poorly and I insisted that he stay home. As to not spread the wonderful germs that have been floating around the office the last couple of weeks. So I'm sure you'll all thank him for joining us this evening online. So we'll start then with item number 1, which is apologies. Councillor Jacobs, Councillor Wilton, Councillor Wright. Anyone else? Have I missed?
Councillor Jacobs, Councillor Martin, Councillor Wilton, Councillor Wright and Reverend Anderson.
I was almost there. Yes.
Slightly away.
Perfect, thank you. Item number 2, interests. We'll take those as and when. If you feel like you've got an interest, whether that be pecuniary or non-pecuniary on the agenda, please make yourself aware to the chair when we get to that item. Item 3, minutes. We'll take the minutes from the 6th of August 2025, which I am sure you've all thoroughly read through. Anyone got any queries or concerns? We'll go to matters arising from it in a moment. But any accuracy issues in the minutes? No, I'm happy to propose those. Do I have a seconder? Councillor North. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you.
No, abstention.
Oh, apologies.
Wasn't here.
Oh, very angry, wasn't here, Councillor Morris?
You'll go to the process.
Boardmasters Week, so of course I'm not going to be here.
Okay. Okay.
What was that? Did you get that?
That's right, you're a taxi driver, aren't you? And it's Boardmasters busy time. So item number 4 then, matters arising from the minutes of the 6th of August 2025. Councillor Thompson, then Councillor Slade.
Actually, well, I'm going to point over to Councillor Slade. It was the update from the Nance Ledden signage that we had the meeting from that. So Councillor Slade was just going to fill in an update on that.
Councillor Slade.
Yes, hello everyone. You may remember what it was. There was an issue that Nansledden were going to put up signs that said Newquay and Nansledden. And there was a discrepancy that we're saying that Nansledden isn't separate from Newquay, Nansledden's part of it. So when we spoke to them, they made out that that was never their intention, that they see themselves fully as part of the Newquay community, and the signs are now just going to say Nansledden.
Oh,
So.
No, Newquay.
Oh, sorry. What? I thought it was. Don't look at me like. They're already up. They're up on this.
Okay, right, okay.
Hang on.
Maybe.
I'll pass you over to Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, we're going to just rename Newquay Nance Ledden. Okay, no, it was going to be the signage coming in from Trevemper and for coming on the A3095 and coming from Quintal Downs are going to say Newquay, that they're going to be supplying them and that it's going to be the same Art Deco type of design work that's going to be on them. And I think the first one could be going up, it's definitely this year, I think. I think on the A3095 coming in on the side, so saying Newquay rather than Newquay and Nance Ledden.
Very good. You heard it here first. This year.
Yeah.
Any other matters arising? Councillor Slade.
Did we get a response from the letter that you wrote to Councillor Parsonage?
No. I wrote to Councillor Parsonage before I went on leave in August. I don't believe the council has had any formal response. Clearly, there has been some comments made in the media, but no, haven't had a response.
From what I've read, from what I gathered, that Councillor Parsonage has taken some extended leave from Cornwall Council to deal with wellbeing issues. So I think we should all send our best regards and hope she recovers soon. And I hear Councillor Tell, you're taking over her responsibilities, so you're going to be covering your division and hers. And we hope that she's all right. I assume she's on full council pay while she's away. We wouldn't want her financially affected, is she?
Thank you. Anything else, Councillor Slade? Is that everything? Councillor Kenny? No, I was going to say something. Oh, okay, perfect. Any other matters arising? No? Okay, brilliant. So we'll move on then to item number 5, and that is the police report, and Inspector Johnson is with us. Steve, thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone had a nice summer. As pointed out, it's already the 1st of October, so yeah, we're moving on fairly quickly through this year. I have sent out the crime report for you, and you will notice probably, those that have been here for quite some time, that I altered it slightly last time, and that was for the month of August when I wasn't here. The reason being is that I think the way it's presented now gives you an idea of what the crime figures were for the previous month and the month before that. If you preferred it the way it was, please tell me. I can revert back to the other system. That just worked on percentages and it was slightly different. So I hope this is a little bit more informative. I think it is, but like I said, I'll be guided by yourselves. The crime figures, as you can see, are following the pattern that I would expect for this time of year. July and August clearly very busy. Not just in terms of footfall, but for us in terms of the police incidents, calls for service and crime. But in September you'll see that that's dropped quite considerably, which I don't think will be any surprise to anybody in the room. Most of the crime types have come down. There are 3 which I've highlighted, and I can go into more detail and answer any questions on later, but they are stalking, violence with injury and without injury, and shoplifting. However, shoplifting isn't particularly high, you will notice, and I think that's largely down to some underreporting going on, which has been addressed today via the Shopwatch forum. So hopefully we can get those figures back on track in terms of the realistic numbers for reporting. The second chart that you can see there, I know I've explained it before, but I will explain it again. That's a bar chart. That kind of tells you where we would expect to be based on the last current year's activity. So you'll see certain lines there surrounding that bar chart. The turquoise lines at the top and the bottom, roughly where the July and August figures are. That's the upper control limit, so that's where we'd kind of hope to be below, and you can see there that we're bordering those figures. So, but you'll see that in September from the other chart that we have come down again quite considerably. So, as I say, following the pattern I would expect. So within those figures, obviously there are those increases, and gladly I can discuss them at greater length. There are some figures within August figures naturally which are attributed to boardmasters. What I will say with boardmasters is that the crime reporting for boardmasters, or the crime figures for boardmasters, were half of what they were the year previous, which can only be seen as successful. There are a number of things that we did around the festival site itself and within the festival site which have contributed to those figures, and the breakdown, which again I can go into if anybody wants me to. There are some crime figures that I know people in this room will be interested in, so I can do that in a minute if you'd like me to. Other things, one of the things I will point out is that headline from boardmasters really, I suppose, is that not only were crime reporting down, but sexual offences were considerably down in the previous year. There was only 5 sexual offences reported at this year's festival. I agree it's 5 too many still, but nonetheless it's still down quite considerably on the previous year, and there were no reported rapes, which again is a massive improvement on previous years. So it just shows that there was the things that we're doing and the things that we're putting in place are helping. So that's kind of a basic overview on where we are at the moment with the crime figures. There are other things that we're doing in terms of applying for funding to try and put police officers in the right place at the right time. And I know that I've spoken about rangers in this forum previously. They're out and about on the streets. I'm sure that everybody's seen them. They're really They're really welcomed, they're doing a great job, and they're complimenting us with regards to what we're doing. Only last week they came into the police station for a briefing, so we can have that transfer of information. So there are things that we're trying to do moving forward. I'd gladly take any concerns from anybody and any recommendations as to where they think or where they highlight that there may be issues that they don't think I've recognised. That's it from me. I'd gladly take any questions, as I said.
Thank you, Inspector Johnson. Really encouraging to see year on year the crime numbers in August down by more than 20%, which is significant, isn't it? So questions then. Councillor Morris, you can kick us off, and Councillor Kenny.
Just a quick one, actually. Why is the car at the top of Wesley Yard that's parked there overnight, that's less than 12 metres from the corner, never ticketed?
I don't know. I can't answer that question, but I'll go and have a look at it for you.
Presumably that's a Cornwall Council issue.
I'll have a look too.
Councillor Kenny.
Yes, very sadly, we had a wave of graffiti. You haven't actually mentioned that. None of all our major cameras, nobody caught it. But have you got any comments on that?
Yeah, so there is, this has been an issue that I spoke about in this forum before as well. Tagging, I'll call it, because it's not graffiti art as such, is it? It's sheer vandalism. And it's happened all over Newquay. Pentai has had a number over recent weeks, hasn't it? I know the coffee shop at the end was subject to some damage, sorry. And then I know that there was the advertising board at Pentai Green that was also damaged, wasn't it? The cameras are in place down there. That's something that we've put in place over the last 12 months. And those cameras have been scanned. They've been scanned for a couple of days, but there just is nobody there. So unfortunately, we haven't been able to identify anybody from those. CCTV always gives us that additional avenue of inquiry, and I know I've said before, you know, our CCTV system is second to none. You know, it's one of the best in the county, I would go to say. But unfortunately, it doesn't capture everything. You know, it can't always be pointing in the right direction at the right time. And this type of incident is always going to be really difficult to prove, because even if the camera had captured somebody going to that board at that time, it would probably have been dark. They'd probably have had a hood up. It would still have been really difficult. But nonetheless, it gives us that opportunity, an opportunity that we didn't have down at Pentai 12 months ago. So, yeah, it's unfortunate, but we'll continue to try and catch them.
Councillor Adlam, and then Councillor Williamson.
I just had a comment about the graffiti, really, because if it's tagging, then is there not any intelligence that will suggest who that person is? Because they're using the same tag, and it's rife in Newquay at the moment.
Yeah.
So you must, I'm just wondering if there is any intelligence that can suggest who these people are.
Yeah. So there is, but unfortunately there's so many of them that just catching one person for a couple of bits doesn't solve the rest of it. And we do a number of things. It's not a case of, well, if CCTV doesn't pick them up, we don't do anything about it. We have been into schools, for example, because the people that go around and do this tagging tend to repeat that tag elsewhere. And it's possible that they do it in a school environment, whether it be on a book or a desk or somewhere else. So there are a number of things that we look at. Yes, it's difficult, but we do look at it and we do get intelligence, yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Williamson.
Hello. I was just wondering if you could elaborate from your note here, the second last paragraph where you say that I know there has been some notable reports that have caused concern, and this goes to demonstrate it's not always about the figures, but the impact on the community and the tensions that this can cause. What was your kind of underlying thinking there?
Naturally, figures always provide an overview of what's going on, and what I meant by that was the stalking figures, really. So the stalking figures are naturally going to jump out at people from these figures. And that creates a bit of a problem, because then there's naturally a fear of that type of crime. And that's understandable, isn't it, when you see the numbers that we're talking about here. And I have to be careful with how I articulate this, because what I don't want to do is underestimate or undermine anybody's report to police. But what I do want to get across to people in this room is that they're not all the stereotypical stalkings that you would see on a Netflix documentary, for example. These are, and I've written down a few notes. So just to give you an idea of some of the things that we've crimed as stalking over the last month. So an ex-school friend is messaging me. Malicious comments on Facebook. Spreading lies on social media by an ex-employee. My brother's friend is requesting me for money for drugs. Right? Now, I don't want to undermine any of those reports, but ordinarily they would have been crimed as malicious communications, maybe harassment with some of them if they're kind of, if there's a course of conduct there. But now, because of our awareness around stalking and the things that we know have happened, particularly in Plymouth, we're placing extra scrutiny on those stalking offences. So anything that is fixated, obsessed, unwanted, repeated, gets crimed as stalking. Therefore, there's a rise in the stalking offences, which then creates a fear of that type of crime. So that's what I meant, really. I kind of want to make sure that people don't see those figures and think, good grief, we've got a serious problem with it. We haven't. They're not all like I said earlier, they're not the stereotypical ones that you would see on the TV. They're all those kind of things as well. There are definitely a couple of those within those figures, and obviously they take priority over the others, but it's not so I wanted to make sure that I articulated that in some way, if possible, to try and get people to understand, because I didn't want people to be over concerned that we've got a serious problem.
Because I guess any of harassment can then become stalking,
Yes.
that can then escalate
Yes.
into quite a tragic kind of event. So do you intervene regardless? Like, do you?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We still intervene at the lowest possible level to stop it from getting any worse. But that could start with a malicious communication, i.e., my friend over the road has sent me this nasty message or whatever it is. We start at that level, but then obviously we do get to the more serious offences, which will take priority because we need to get to those quicker. But we still intervene at the lowest possible level. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Hubbox.
Hello. May I ask, of the more similar to what you'd see on Netflix, what I imagine when I hear stalking, do you know how many of those result in a real measure being put in place to protect the victim?
Most of them. Almost all of them, because we've now got various processes in place where when it gets to that level, invariably we can prove it because of the type of things that they do. I won't go into the type of things they do, but because of the type of things they do, we can prove it. So invariably, we send a large proportion of them to court to be dealt with at court. Where we don't send them to court and we need to get further evidence, they're on bail, so they've got bail conditions. And the other thing that we do is what we call a domestic violence protection notice to them. And that's a civil matter, but it goes to court. So we say that this person is on bail for a serious offence, but then we go to our vulnerability lawyer and we're able to say, can you please consider this and take this to court within the next 24 hours? That person then gets a notice to say that if you breach this notice, you're arrestable, and you go back before the same court. So there are protective measures in place, and that deals with the law aspect of it, I suppose. And there are other safeguarding measures, alarms, all of those kind of things, safe accommodation, all of those kind of things that will go on in the background.
Is that effective?
Yes. Not always, nothing's perfect, is it? But yeah, risk is something that we take really seriously, so we try and protect wherever we can. Yeah.
Councillor Adam.
Just a quick question about the shoplifting. Those figures seem really low.
Yes.
Is that because people aren't reporting?
Some of it, yeah.
Because I have a business in Newquay,
Yeah.
and part of the the radios and
Yes.
so on, and there's always same people actually causing the same offences.
Yep.
And nationally, shoplifting is through the roof
Yep.
with figures. So I was just wondering why these are so low.
Because people aren't reporting. So we get that anecdotal evidence, such as the examples you just given. People are always going around town, and we're always hearing that people are shoplifting. They don't always tell us. They don't always report it as a crime. We've had an incident a couple of months ago where we had somebody in custody, and I knew that they'd committed a number of offences, but those offences weren't recorded on our system because the people hadn't reported them.
So do we need to do something to encourage people to report?
Yeah, and we have been doing for months. So we go via the bid so that we can get a message out that way. We go through the Shopwatch system to ensure that people report those offences. There are certain inhibitors with various people, but yeah, that should be a thing that we encourage them to do, and we have been. All right.
Perfect. Thank you. Councillor Spry?
Just wonder what the process is for reporting.
There's a number of ways that people can report, actually, particularly with the retailers in town. They've got access to an app which they can report through, so they can just go onto an app and report. They can go via the 101 system, so they can use the telephone, they can use the computer. The computer is quite often fairly favourable because they can type that in and send it, whereas the phone sometimes they have to wait, unfortunately. So yeah, there's a number of ways. I think a lot of people with the Shopwatch radios tend to talk to each other, and they're aware that CCTV system is aware, and I think there's a misconception really that that's a report. It's not a report. It might help us deal with something quicker to get to the suspect, but it still needs to be reported. So yeah, but there's a number of ways.
Thank you, Inspector Johnson. I just want to thank you for your time this evening and the level of frankness and scrutiny that you allow this particular group. I think it's really important, and I'll just share with the group that I spoke to Steve earlier today, and I think taken out of context, these numbers understandably sometimes look quite scary, don't they? But I think we need to reinforce the message that Newquay is very much a safe place to live, work, and go to school and grow up. And I think in the future, I think we're going to look at maybe some benchmarking just to kind of bring that alive, and just kind of help focus our minds in that regard. But thank you all for your questions, and thank you, Inspector Johnson, for coming along. Please pass our thanks on to the whole team, who I know worked really hard on our behalf.
I will do, and I will perhaps at the next meeting bring you some of that benchmarking information, just so that you can get a flavour of how safe Newquay is. I will say that following our conversation, I looked at September's figures. Of the 9 sectors in Cornwall, Newquay is the lowest. All right, so
really encouraging.
That just demonstrates in itself how safe we are. We've still got improvements naturally, and but yeah, it is.
That won't mean your funding.
Sorry?
That won't mean your funding is.
Oh God, I hope not. No.
Don't say that in a public forum.
I'm sweating now.
Okay, thank you, Inspector Johnson. I know you're busy. You're welcome to stay, of course, as always. But I'm sure you've probably got better places to be than.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so we will then move on to item number 6, which is the open session for electors of Newquay, verbal or written questions. We didn't have any written questions. Unless Councillor Town wants to ask a question, there are no other members of the public present. Correspondence, I don't believe we've had any correspondence. So then it goes on to Mayor's announcements, and I'll just rattle through some of these. So we're in the final stages. I've been working with Councillor Wright and the office to finalise the smartphone-free Newquay Covenant that we'll be looking to roll out across all schools in Newquay. This is to remove smart devices from the school environment here in Newquay. I was pleased to say that when Councillor Wright and I, earlier in the summer, just before school broke for the term, met with representatives from all schools and trusts, they were very keen on this. So we've developed this covenant, and that will be circulated to you all I think probably at some point later in the week or early next week. I think we're at the end of the drafting, aren't we? And we're just waiting for any final amendments. So that's really exciting. And I know there's been some interesting reports, and I'll be looking to take that to Cornwall Council to see if that's something that we can explore across the county. It's really notable to say that you'll be aware that we've been going through a staff review off the back of the corporate plan development earlier in the year. That process has now finished, and I met with all of the staff virtually on Monday because a number were unfortunately unwell, and we didn't think it was a good idea to put everyone in one room together and cause more sickness. But that's been completed now. There will be some changes coming over the next few months, and that may cause a little disruption, so please bear with the staff and the services while they go through those changes. Interim arrangements for any affected services will be in place, and we are actively recruiting to any roles that are currently unfilled. I'm really pleased to say that next week I'll be representing the town alongside our wonderful volunteers of Newquay in Bloom at the prestigious Southwest in Bloom Awards in Torquay, following on from last year's representations at Bath, where we did very well, in fact, and we'll be looking for I believe it's our 16th gold in a row for Newquay this year. So well done to the Newquay in Bloom team, and particularly to the chair, Leslie Frill, who's been doing an excellent job since she came in. There's a play park consultation gone out today, and that's for the new Mount Wise play park, which will be built hopefully before I finish being mayor. We're looking for responses from everyone, so please all fill that out yourself. And if you've got young people in your lives, it's even more important that they fill it out and give us their feedback. Welcome to fill out the form online. If you'd rather send me your thoughts in an email, or your young person's thoughts in an email, please do so. I'm meeting with some young people this week to talk about what their expectations of the park are, given some of the feedback that I've had on the newly refurbished Trenance Park. So we're hoping to make it more inclusive. That will run to the end of October. Had a monthly walk around with Mark from BID last week, and you'll all be aware of Mark and the wonderful work that BID's been doing over the last few years. You may or may not be aware that BID have just gone out to their latest re-upping of their levy, if you like, so for another 5-year term, which takes them from 2026 until 2031. So all of the businesses will have had their polling papers, I guess we would call them, land, and they've got until I think it's the last Thursday in October to vote. So and we hope that I certainly hope that they get another term. The work that we've been doing with BID is amazing. I met with the team at Naked Solar this morning. Really pleased to see the work that they've been doing on recruitment and development and training for that sector, decarbonising our energy sector. Also met with Representative John from Hendra Holiday Park today to discuss a number of issues, not least of all tourism, van dwellers, and other issues. I'm really pleased to be able to say that John and I found lots of common ground and lots of positives will moving forward, and hope to work with BID and others to really kind of promote our town moving forward. We finalised the Christmas, it's been busy, finalised the Christmas event, which will be happening on the 28th, 29th and 30th of November this year. Mark those dates in your diaries. It's a 3-day event this year alongside the 3-day market that BID will be delivering. Our new events manager, Amy, is doing a great job with that, and we've got some really brilliant entertainment lined up for the Friday night, from post school all the way through to Light Switch On with me and Radio Newquay, and then a tribute act to follow, which will be brilliant. And given that Truro's abandoned their large Light Switch On event this year, I imagine we'll be busy. And then finally, for Mayor's announcements, I'll be representing the Town Council at Newquay Hockey's 60th anniversary event next weekend with my good lady wife at the Sandy Lodge Hotel. So I'm sure you'll all send your best for that event. Good. Right, that's got through that lot. Please, Councillor Williamson.
You have been busy. Well done on the smartphones. I think since the woman came and gave the presentation, I think we've really adopted that as a town. So I think that's great. And I think it would be great for the Finance Park to learn the missteps that took place down on the one by the tennis centre, because that was disappointing, I think, to a lot of people. I think for the bid work, it would be great to make sure that people realise that they were more than just murals, because I love the murals, I think they're absolutely brilliant, and I hope that maybe having a more nice town to look at will help on things like the crime stats and the tourist stats and things like that. But you did forget something very important, which people are very delighted about that you have done, which is sorted out the lollipop person for Newquay Junior School. And in fact, I was just talking about it with somebody earlier today, and there is a good interest to know what's the longer term future for that role, because obviously safety for children going to and from school is very important.
Yeah, so I mean that's certainly by no means a solo effort. Councillor Kenny was also alongside me on the fight on that one. Really pleased to have been able to get that confirmed and reinstated until the end of this academic term in December. And I did happen to have a conversation with the leader of the council last week about this. You know, I'm confident that we'll move forward in a positive way with that, and I'll update you as soon as I've got any firm news. But you're absolutely right. It's such a really important thing, keeping our children safe going to and from school, you know, the removal of that under the previous administration's budget, just, you know, unbelievable, really.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny, as well.
No, so the school has two crossing, but I've got to stop calling them lollipop ladies. That's an old-fashioned thing to say. It's crossing patrol. And so they have two crossing patrols. One of them they fund themselves, and that's the one directly outside Newquay Junior on Edgecombe Avenue. The one outside the tennis centre is still funded via Cormac, by Cornwall Council. So that's the one that they were proposing to cut. And I think, you know, the point I made to the leader was that actually it isn't, in this day and age, given the current financial pressures that schools find themselves under, you know, it's not acceptable to expect them to try and fork more money out of their budget that's been, you know, relatively cut because of inflation and pay rises that haven't been unfunded by national government, to then fork out further money to pay for another patrol crossing person. So yeah, I'm hopeful that, you know, we'll find a positive way forward with that. And sorry, I did just forget one thing when you were talking about BID. Of course, don't forget the wonderful, talking about the things that BID do, Zombie Crawl, which is on the last Saturday of this month. And I hope to very much be there in earnest, dressed as the zombie mayor once again, which I thoroughly enjoyed last year. Councillor Kenny and Councillor Adlam.
Just on the question of us working together, I can't say I can claim any credit for the crossing, but I think both of I met with BID today, and they were talking about free car parking day, and I said I would get in touch with Dan Rogerson and say, can we have it, the last Saturday in November, do you reckon?
Yeah, I think what BID was looking for was the 29th of November, ideally, because that's the Saturday that the market's on.
So
yeah,
if you'd like to have a go at Dan as well.
I'll have a pop at Dan as well. Dan's getting fed up with my emails, I'm sure. Okay, sorry, Councillor Adlam.
Yeah, it was just a question about the light switch on and for Christmas, which I presume is on the Friday the 28th of November.
Yes.
Can I just request that the fireworks aren't let off so early this year?
Right.
Last year was too early.
Right.
As soon as the fireworks went off at 6 o'clock or whenever it was, everybody went home. Traders were staying open until 7 and 8 at night, and there was nobody, because they'd all gone home because the fireworks had been let off. So it was just a point. I don't know if I can just request that the fireworks happen a bit later in the evening, not so early.
We'll certainly look at it. I think we've actually factored, so what we tend to do is factor them in to go off as the lights go on in a bit of a spectacle. What I can assure you though this year is post the switch on, we have a very exciting act that will keep people on the killer court, I can assure you.
Yeah, it's just the fireworks. The fireworks really signify the end of the evening, and if they're being let off at 6 o'clock, it's too early.
Yeah, we'll certainly review it. I think it's 6:45 or 7 o'clock is essentially the time that they've got planned in. It just depends on. Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. I think it just depends on the, what's already been planned, schedules and bits and pieces. We'll certainly look at it. If not this year, then certainly future years. Item 9, financial statements then. So these have all gone out and have been signed off. So this is just for noting. Does anyone have any questions? I'm happy to propose. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Thompson, all in favour? Very much. Then we've got the open session for Cornwall councillors, verbal, written and tabled reports. I don't believe we've had any tabled reports, written reports, but I see 3 Cornwall councillors in our midst. Councillor Kenny, do you want to go first?
Always first, right, okay. As always, we've been dominated by parking in this division. Pentar Headland has now transferred to the Cornwall Heritage Trust with a couple of hiccups along the way, main problem being litter and rubbish. First, when a foul-up cancelled the Biffa contract a few days earlier, I think I mentioned that last time, it was quickly sorted and everything collected. Then CHT, Cornwall Heritage Trust, had a conviction that they didn't need litter bins as everybody would take their litter home. They were soon disabused of the idealistic notion and have introduced a litter collection service from September. It's not fair. The amount of litter that is being left is far higher can actually be generated by the walkers and the users of Pentar Headland. What's happening, as we know elsewhere, when litter bins are provided, some people always use them to solve their domestic needs. Camera control on that car park has been introduced, or rather threatened. I'm not actually sure if it's working. They altered the time on the board by indelible ink. That did cause a bit of confusion, and they had less cars parking than normal. I understand that for the winter at least, the car park will continue to be free from November to March, because they were originally talking about charging it. As I've talked about the graffiti already, I don't need to follow that. Tower Headland and Little Fistral are reaching the end of the contract with Treveth. I understand that Cornwall Council is going to take that car back into direct control. I read in The Voice today that Newquay Town Council has put in a bid to run it. Are you insane? To deal with a long-established antisocial behaviour that is reported to be occurring there. Do we really want it? I mean, okay. Okay, car park charges. Cornwall Council have announced a 6% rise in car park charges. Apparently, as within inflation measures, there's no need to consult even with the local members, so none of us were told about it. But at the same time, Dan Rogerson, the Cabinet Member for Transport, has asked all members for any point, and I'm quoting what he said, for any points they would like to make about the operation of Cornwall Council car parks and their divisions. He seems amenable to introducing place-targeted schemes as opposed to the bonkers one-size-fits-all approach that was introduced by the last administration, but with the proviso, I quote, "I cannot promise to enact everyone's wishes given financial pressures and constraint." So no surprise, I have put in a bid to get back the post-4 p.m. free charging at the Manor, Mount Wise and St George's Road. The downside is when you do something like that, you've got to find something to replace the loss of income that will result from doing that. So my answer was very obvious, was to return the car park charges in the summer in the coastal car parks to the level they were before they got the banding, because they put the price down. Who in their right mind brings the price down in the car park closest to Fistral? Cornwall Council have lost tens of thousands by doing that. So I'm just saying, get the money back, go back to those prices that the community was accepting. I'm sure there will be some people that don't like the idea of putting car park charges up, but I think it is worth it for the post 4 p.m. free side. I've spoken to BID, they agree. I talked it over with planning and licensing and the parking working group yesterday. Everybody is happy with it. I would rather not have to do that, but I think, but whether they will actually listen to us, heaven knows. I actually put in a bid for your car park as well, actually. Tregunnell, I think it should go the same way, but that is down to you, of course. Right. residents parking scheme, we're still talking about, we haven't got any further with that. The Airport Consultative Forum, now known formally as the ACF, was not nearly such a mouthful. We had our first meeting of the reconstituted meeting that was killed, well, not exactly killed off, but was allowed to die in the last administration. It's very positive, strong input from the businesses at the airport who are desperate to be able to talk to management. It's good to see Coleham Parish back where it belongs, and none of that nonsense about Newquay Town Council being told who they could select to represent them. It's exciting times at the airport. They are still sorting out the reorganisation, and all its property and estate are now going to come in to a single business run by the airport. As well, you know, we all know that Cornwall Council, the new administration, dropped the proposals in June to sell them off to a private company. My view is if private company can expect to make money out of our estate, I think so can we. But the profit will be used to feed back into the benefit of the airport and the people of Cornwall, and hopefully reducing the subsidy. But watch this space, it's early days. Mid Cornwall, Newquay Active Travel, that's the bit about closing the parking in East Street, but producing all sorts of things like a new car park at, I always forget its name, the new car park where the bus go. Sorry? Yeah, it's not Albion, it's Tolcombe. I knew it was a T. It's the Tolcombe Road. I'm getting an update tomorrow. I don't know if they've come to you as well. No, they have done the business impact survey that the local people wanted. Don't know what the results are. I'm having an update tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. Newquay Clean, still working with monthly meetings. The latest project was the rubbish boogie board collection. We thanks very much to the Town Council for providing the space. It looks like it's coming to an end now, which is just as well because we have crammed all the space in. We've totally, and we're looking to sort of update, have a meeting with the schools, just to have a lovely recycling day where we tear all the boards apart. The kids would probably enjoy that. I don't know from your perspective, Mr. Mayor, I didn't think we had as many boards as we've had in previous years, which is good. I mean, I still collected about 60 or so, but 150 it was a couple of years back. So maybe, just maybe, they're selling more sensible ones. Otherwise, just the normal routine of responding to residents' query. They're all important issues, but not of general interest, and going to committees. The council is quiet in the summer months. I've attended a number of committee meetings, the most important being Cornwall Council, which I didn't think was particularly inspiring this time. Central planning, still coming to terms with the fact that the devastation on the local plan and the neighbourhood plans, but otherwise not really of much interest to report. I'll happily take any questions if anybody's got any.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny. Councillor Morris, please.
Can I ask, where's the bin gone outside Sailors?
Outside Sailors?
Sailors nightclub. There used to be a bin on the right-hand side. It's disappeared completely. It's not even down there.
Interesting. I didn't know about that, so I'll ask. Is it a Cornwall Council bin, do you think?
It is a Cornwall Council bin, yeah. It's one of the black bins. It was on the right-hand side of Sailors, just in front of where they're...
Can you send me an email? But
I can do, yeah. I'll take a picture of where it is and I'll send it, where it
great.
Should be. And I'll send it back, and I'll send it to you.
Have you reported it on the report it function on Cornwall Council?
Actually, no, it's just reminded me.
So if you could report it, but I would chase it up as well.
Probably just trying to save you some administration.
I haven't heard that they're taking any bins away, so I suspect that it's some delightful vandal.
I apologise for not reporting it, but when you said about rubbish, you just reminded me that it's gone missing.
Good stuff. Councillor Williamson, then Councillor Slope.
Thank you for that update, Councillor Kenny. With all this talk about Christmas and recycling, I was wondering whether you knew anything about the collection and chipping of Christmas trees, and if we can do a communication to people about what they can do to recycle their old Christmas trees.
I don't know. I generally don't know, but I was assuming we'd do what we'd done in previous years, and we'll bring that up at Newquay Clean on Friday, which I think is a sensible thing to do, because last year we had, and the year before, and again we asked the Town Council to store the trees for us, but that was up on the car park. But hopefully we can do that, and then they get chipped and used for something. So yeah, I'll raise that in Newquay Clean on Friday.
Councillor Slade?
Yeah, hello. It's my usual hobby horse of the way that van drivers and van owners in Newquay are excluded from South Viscera and Esplanade Road before work, which is the type, because I've noted that that policy is there to stop antisocial behaviour of van owners, and yet the Pentire Residents Association I saw had a peaceful protest where they were protesting about antisocial behaviour on that road. So it seems to me, is it the fact that the policy isn't working and should be reviewed? Because why are van owners of Newquay being excluded to stop antisocial behaviour when the Pentire Residents Association feel the need to protest against said antisocial behaviour?
If I may correct you, the Pentire Residents Association did not have a protest meeting. It was an interesting protest meeting between surfers and van dwellers. And the van dwellers called the police because they felt that they were being abused. So there we go. I was also told by a surfer that Cornwall Council will only putting tickets on surfers' cars, and they weren't putting them on the van. And that was absolute rubbish. I mean, they do exercises in the morning. There is a problem that we've lost our early morning person who liked getting up at 4 o'clock and ticketing people because he was on his own, and then they discovered him and they think he was attacked. So effectively, they are now going round in pairs because it is a terrible view of our society that the people who are just doing their job now have to go round in pairs because people don't like getting tickets. I will come back to the parking on Esplanade Road is a privilege. It is not a right. I am incredibly proud that we maintain free parking for people in the daytime and vans in the daytime. I'm incredibly proud that unlike anywhere else in Newquay, we have free parking on that road for people to come to. You might just as well complain about the double yellow lines that are around Porth, because you can't park at all there. So it is something that we've offered. Unfortunately, it's been abused. It's been abused because when we didn't have any control there, we had something like 60 people having a freebie holiday, and they used it as a campsite, and they used to stand on the edge of the road and pee at the moon. So it's not that I'm anti-campers, but I am anti some of the antisocial stuff they do. The only thing that has worked is having a restriction on parking. You cannot prove camping, which is why we have a restriction on parking. When I introduced it, the idea was that they would only apply it to vans that were obviously camping, and they came back and said that's unworkable. They go to court. You won't get anything working. So unfortunately, the restriction is against all vans. It is tough. Mind you, there are vans that come along and they want to come along at 8:45 before they go to work, and then leave the van all day and then come back for a surf at 6. I am less sympathetic with those. The people who come along at 3 or 4 in the morning for a surf, or 4 o'clock in the morning, they're not getting ticketed because they're only there for an hour or so. It's the people who like to come. It's effectively queue jump. I am sorry. If we take the parking restrictions away, then we will have absolute chaos there. And yes, you're right. There are 1 or 2 people, campers, who think, well, the £35 fine is a really cheap price for staying overnight and having a wonderful campsite right on the edge of Fistral, so they are prepared to pay the fine. We are not allowed legally at the moment to escalate. So we can give someone a ticket every day and all they are paying is £35 a go. So we are working, Cornwall Council is gone, and I've spoken to Noah Law about this. You know, we need to change the law so that if we have persistent offenders, we can escalate the charges against them. But until that happens, I'm sorry for the surfers. It wasn't intended. I would say go somewhere else, but there is nowhere else because nobody else provides. Yeah, you can go to the other end of the beach if you like. You get a ticket after 9 o'clock if you don't pay your charges over things. So yeah, there are go somewhere. Go to Watergate where there's a free car park until 9 o'clock in the morning. There are other places you can go to.
Yeah, go on then.
Sum up my thoughts for that. That's I was obviously misinformed. I thought I saw it in the Newquay Voice that it was the Pentire Residents Association that had. Okay, well, I'll talk to Warren about that. The thing that strikes me about all of this is that, like, you've got these parking restrictions in place that stops the people of Newquay with vans to go there before work, and yet you've still got all this antisocial behaviour. It sounds like the whole thing's a bit of a mess. And again, it leans to the whole thing with the whole parking issues in Newquay. Do we need a Newquay-wide parking review? We can sort out something. We could work with the vans. We can work out with the residential parking. We could do all kinds of things. And this piecemeal approach just seems to cause the antisocial behaviour still there. People can't go to the beach. You know, saying to people in Newquay, you know, I'm sorry, you can't go to Fistral, go somewhere else. That's not really. That's not really fine. So, but you see why I think we should have a town-wide review.
We can only do what the law allows us to do. You can have a Newquay-wide parking review. In fact, we're probably going to have one. But you can only do what the law allows you to do. And I mean, there are bits of paper that says, oh well, if you've got a parking with a P, you can't camp or do anything else. And I've chased up that, and you've got to have some sort of restriction. And that is the one of the parking one is the only one that works. It does mean that, you know, people with vans cannot arrive at 8:30 and leave their car there all day. Well, that's not exactly what it's supposed to be. I'm very sorry for the genuine early morning camper, parker, who comes along and he only wants to stay for an hour. I'm really sorry about them. They are not in the majority. If you look at what happens as they come along and they just want to park the car, and there's a bit of queue jumping. If we get there before 9 o'clock, we'll get a good parking place, because after 9 o'clock, it's all over. There is nothing. I'm sorry to be totally intransigent on this, but this is the only thing that has worked. If somebody can come up with something better, and nobody ever has, then we can consider changing it. But we're talking about one road along Fistral, which, as I say, is the only road in Newquay, but mostly in Cornwall. I think you can go to Westward Ho and find some free parking. It is the only unrestricted road that is that close to a beach, and I will fight to protect it. But it is the only road, so it's a privilege that we've got it there. And I like the idea that families can come along in the daytime and find a parking place. Actually, they can't, because the road gets full up with vans or people who are there for the whole day. And there's very little. They can do it now, they can park now quite easily, but in the summer, they have no chance, because people come along at 9 o'clock, dump their vans there and stay there all day.
Okay, I think it's probably time to move on. Go on then, Kat, yeah.
Parking. At the moment, as it stands on that road, is it completely free parking and there's no control on it? Would it be worth considering putting like a time limit on?
You should
there?
say that, and you'll love this one, Councillor Slade, because the Pentire Residents Association are going to ask me when we are suggesting that they put forward a change that on the seaside of that you have no parking for more than 4 hours. They think it would be a great idea to just have restrict it that way. Personally, I don't think that would work, and I think if you think we have troubles now where we're saying don't park at night, what we'll be saying to the van drivers is you can only stay there for 4 hours, and then you have to go on. It's very difficult to enforce that, because the parking people have to come round at the beginning of the 4 hours and then come back afterwards. But that's what they would like to do. They would like to restrict it even further. I would say I'm not terribly enthusiastic about that. I mean, I will put it on the list because they have requested it, but it's not going to be one that I actually fight for. The road is simply a road with parking bays the entire way along it, apart from the places where we've put double yellow lines so that cars can get past each other, or just for safety. But otherwise, and it's quite unique. It's unique.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny. Councillor Tao, would you like to join us? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have been working with Rebecca Riley of the Highways Authority and other stakeholders on safety improvements at Lansledden, on temporary crossings that unfortunately are looking quite unlikely at the moment. Highways prefer permanent infrastructure. So that's what we're going to be looking at as a matter of priority. And also a 20-mile-an-hour limit consultation that's finished now. And we're sifting through the responses on that. And also talking to business owners and, of course, residents down there. I would very much like to thank Councillor Valerie Martin for her input into the whole process, and I would like to thank the Town Council as a whole for their support of the residents of Nansdedden at the last meeting. So thank you very much. Moving over to Porth, I am working on a new pathway at Leicester Grove Road, running adjacent to the Barrowfields. That consultation is live at the moment, and there are many residents down there at the moment who have to struggle up a main busy road or wade through a muddy embankment. So that is a welcome improvement to the area. I am working with places at the moment who are contacting me as if I was still on the Town Council working group, which of course I gave up when I came off the Town Council. So I will be pleased to re-engage with those new councillors on that committee and act as a sort of conduit of communication between the two, because there are some people down there with some ideas about how they want to take things forward, and I'll be happy to do that. I have given my commitment to many nuclear businesses, especially in Porth, that I will work on some of the issues we've had this year regarding the Boardmasters event. During that week, we had temporary road closures put up in many areas to help with the traffic flow, which was successful, but in my view was a little bit of overkill, because it did choke off many accesses to businesses in the town. And I'm a great supporter of Boardmasters, but during that event, I feel very strongly that we need to share out the proceeds a little bit of that event and make sure the footfall can benefit our local businesses, which was always the case before, but recently there was an opinion that more and more the footfall is being restricted onto the site of Boardmasters, and the town isn't really getting a share of that revenue anymore. So we'll be looking at that, and also for the benefit of those listening on the webcast, my answer to Councillor Slade earlier when he asked me, yes, indeed I am working with Councillor Parkinson to cover her during her leave of absence. It is an official leave of absence, before her leave of absence, she did have a 100% attendance record at Cornwall Council, something I feel that hasn't really been well publicised, but I just wanted to place that on the record. So thank you very much, and I welcome any questions.
Thanks, Councillor Towell. Any questions, Councillor Towell? Councillor Kenny.
One, I totally agree with you about boardmasters, but what was happening before boardmasters was things like Cornwall Live was saying don't go to Newquay because it's going to be an absolute disaster area. So I think what we need is more publicity that Newquay is open for business, because I think that was very much came back in the feedback. Totally unconnected. We had a look yesterday at the proposals for the path that was going round Barrowfields, and we came back and said we thought it ought to be a bit longer. You know where the Wish path is? I drove past it today, and you were absolutely right. So so is there any chance of getting it extended to the Wish path that's there? It would be good.
Yeah, on those 2 points. Firstly, I feel the boardmasters issue, that it was overkill, I think, and a lot of the issues that we were suffering and our residents were suffering from, particularly in Porth, was having the entrance to the main site up at Watergate. Now that they have moved that round to the green car park, I feel very strongly that that is the key thing that has improved matters. The road closures, I'm either here or there, to tell the truth. I can understand why they did it, but I think the real breakthrough was moving that main entrance over to the other side of the site. Yes, the extension of the path is possible. I'm in conversations with officers at the moment and trying to dig up some 106 money to secure that. But that path is really quite strategic anyway, so that for me would make sense.
Thank you, Councillor Towell. I was just going to say, I think on the boardmaster's point, and I'm a resident on Porth Way, and I have to say, as a resident, I welcome the reduction in traffic of people attempting to get to the site along Porth Way or try and pick up their kids from there. So, I think whilst I accept what you're saying, I think the other point I was going to say was, and I think others who were in the meeting last month with me with boardmasters will back me up on this. I know that this year they heavily discounted the shuttle bus passes, whereas before it was a one ride, one fee. This year was a one wristband, heavily reduced price. And my understanding from that meeting was that next year, in fact, there was going to be free travel on the shuttle bus ongoing to try and encourage people off site. And it was noted in the meeting that we had, it's rare that a festival site tries and gets people to go off their site and back on. So, I think it's an interesting point you make. I'll be really quick on mine because I'm conscious we spent some time on this. Bodyboards, as you mentioned, Councillor Kenny, I'm hoping that the group will agree to just run it through till the end of half term, at the end of October. I think that probably makes sense with a view to then doing that event at the school when they return in the beginning of November, so look out for that. I'm still really keen to see a residents parking scheme explored, if only a decent consultation across the whole of town, because so much has changed since the last one, whether we agree or not on whether there needs to be a residents permit scheme, I think what we do know is that people's behaviours have changed in terms of the number of people living in a single property, in terms of the number of people working from home. You know, the last consultation was 2017, you know, very much before the advent of work from home. Lots of crossing queries in my area as well. And I know we've got some mobile speed cameras up collecting data, and I've asked that the Town Council bring that to the next ENF meeting so we can have a proper rattle through that data to see if it backs up the claims for the need for crossings. As Councillor Kenny said, I've also written to Councillor Rogerson asking and offering a proposal on behalf of the Town Council for both Watergate, which is quite a unique site in and in itself, but also Little Fistral, to try and bring that site back to, and I know Councillor Kenny disagrees, but what I remember of that site is a site that is well used by the community for water sports, adventure, picnics, wildlife watching. Many a time have I seen dolphins from that headland there, but not least of all, and most importantly I think, is it was very heavily used by the local educational establishments taking their children down there, and it's now become a no-go zone. And I think we need to take back control, to coin a phrase, of that car park, so on behalf of our community. So anyway, so I've offered that, and offered something, you know, in terms of what I think is quite a novel idea around profit shares between the Town Council and Cornwall Council, removing risk for Cornwall Council whilst retaining some income for them. So I'm hopeful that, that something will happen there. Boating lake developments, wouldn't you know, I ordered some rain and a high tide, and the weeds disappeared. On a serious note, and I've received a lot of abuse over the summer because, of course, only a couple of months been being elected. Of course, it's my fault. And I accept the point. I think, you know, I'm really passionate that is a really key cultural and important part of our heritage here in Newquay, and we need to make sure that it's well looked after. The fact of the matter is, it's not a natural space, and actually, you know, that's going to cause us some problems. But we have a plan. And in fact, the environment manager at Cornwall Council and I, as well as the environment manager at Cormac, Newquay Marine Group, among others, are looking at a managed wilding of sections that I think I said before, and I'm just waiting on the final numbers in terms of what's available budget-wise, and I might be coming to the Town Council to also ask if there's any possibility they might be able to help us with that, because I think it's a real key asset for our town, and clearly one that people are very passionate about. Lots of casework this month and last, but a real positive for me was being able to work with a family locally, privately renting, non-fault eviction, facing homelessness, real kind of local connections, strong local connections, children in local schools, lived here for a long time. Husband works in construction, wife I believe volunteers, and they were facing homelessness, which would have put extra burden on Cornwall Council and the taxpayer. But thankfully, and I'd be the first to criticise Cornwall Council's arm's length organisations, but I worked with Treveth to find them a suitable private rental at market rate, local here to Newquay, so they've been able to manage to stay here locally where they've lived for a long time. So I'm really personally very pleased with that, and want to thank on the record the guys at Treveth for that work. Thank you. Right, unless there's any questions, Councillor Kenny.
Me wrong, I would be delighted to restore Tower Headland to its previous use, providing you don't shift all the users over to Esplanade Road, which tends to happen really good. But it is going to be a nightmare. I mean, it is going to be extremely expensive, and I'm not even sure the Town Council has the powers to do what you want to do. So that's why I'm saying, are you sure about this? Because I don't even think Cornwall Council has a grasp on how to. I know what Treveth did was a disaster, but it's really, it's going to be, it is not an easy job to get that car park back.
Yeah, no, I absolutely accept and you know, welcome the challenge. I think you know, what I've highlighted to Councillor Rogerson is our thus proven track record of delivering car parks and increasing revenue by being a bit more innovative with fees and promotion. And you know, I accept it's not something that's going to be easy, but sometimes those are the fights that you have to have, right? Because it's so important to the community. So I guess we'll see. Councillor Morris.
Can I just
Sorry,
one comment about it?
Yeah, go on.
If I was Cornwall Council, I would jump at that offer. Absolutely jump. Have it with our blessing.
Did you hear that, Warren? Councillor Kenny said. Councillor Morris.
I would say it's great to see the fountain working again. It's been off for 9 months. Yeah, it's great to see it working again.
Yeah, again, real problematic piece of infrastructure. Not the right fountain for the depth of the lake. Ultimately, costing thousands a year actually in annual repairs, and it gets clogged up, and you know, and we go around on this merry-go-round every year, don't we? I have asked the team for a longer-term solution, and if there's anything else that we can do, but that will form part of the work that we're going to be doing over the next few months on. On wilding some of that area and a better management of what's there already. So, of course, working with the current leaseholder as well. Any other questions? No? Thank you very much. So then we move on. Are you all right there, Andy? Sorry, I just left you alone. You're okay? You're still awake? You're good? Okay. Good. So, item 11 then, committee minutes and reports, and I'll hand over to the chair of E&F, Councillor Margaret North.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm happy to present the minutes of the Environment and Facilities Committee meeting held on the 18th of September 2025. I'm happy to propose. Have I got a seconder? And then we'll take any questions if anybody's got any.
Yeah. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, can I know the EF 203/25, the recommendation to GNR that Newquay Bloom is considered as a new town council partner, it didn't come up at GNR, so can it go on to make sure that we get it onto the minutes of the next GNR, please? Brilliant,
yeah, it didn't go on because there wasn't enough time between the meetings for it to go onto the agenda, but certainly yeah, we can absolutely make sure that goes on the next GNR, Andy. And just as on that point, actually, a really well-made point, is that something I think we should explore going into next year, particularly now we're doing budget setting, is those partnerships that we feel we may wish to go into with particular outside organisations, rather than each year asking them to come in for grant requests. We'll still keep the grants open, but I think setting aside some partnership funding would be really useful, and I think that's where that one came from. Sorry, Councillor North.
So, no more questions. We have got a recommendation that needs to be voted. Oh no, we've proposed, we've seconded. All in favour? Any objections, abstentions? Unanimous.
Did you put your hand up, Councillor Morris? Did you fall asleep?
Sorry, I was looking at my and I forgot to vote. I do apologise.
YouTube, was it?
No, it's actually the agenda.
Can we extend that smartphone-free covenant to the chamber, please?
It's my agenda.
So the only recommendation we've got this evening is for the earmark release of 11,850.04, and it's for the light. I think actually it was retrospective, but we voted on it and we agreed it, so I just need a vote tonight. I'm happy to propose. Seconder.
Councillor North, sorry, can I just jump in quickly? Apologies.
Do you want me laptop?
No. It was just to say that it was as part of the of a piece of TRIP funding. So this was match funding for 25%. Yeah. So there'll be a 75%, so 35-ish grand coming from a grant potentially. This is what that's match fund for. Sorry.
Councillor Morris, were you seconding that? So all in favour?
Thanks, Councillor North. Sorry to interrupt you. You're used to it, aren't you? Yeah.
No more place.
Oh dear. Moving on, 11B, and I shall hand over to the Chair of Planning and Licensing, Councillor Sarah Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you. You're so excited about that. Right. Okay. Yeah. So I'd like to propose then minutes from 5th of August, 20th of August, 3rd of September. Can I have a seconder for that? Councillor Carter for seconding for that. All in favour? Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. Go on. No, that's fine. Something else with the E&F minutes? Can you look through them, please, Louise? There's a lot of typos in there. Thank you. Sorry.
I think you've got a change of terms of reference.
Yes, and then for our planning committee, we were actually changing our terms of reference, trying to accommodate and try out a triaging system for when we have lots of for planning applications. If I can propose the change in the terms of reference, please. Seconder, Councillor Carter for that. All in favour? Brilliant. I think that's everybody. Oh, no. Oh, abstention? 2 abstentions. Okay.
Good question. How long's the trial? Well, presumably until you decide otherwise.
I think it's going to be into the new year. I think it was discussed for...
Certainly trialled over the winter. Review in the spring. That's fair. 6 months. 6 months, I'm being told.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think that's important to stress.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah.
Sure. Good, thank you very much. Item 12 then, Newquay Council issues, and I've got an item here, Councillor Sarah Thompson.
This is so long ago. I was quite surprised when I saw this down. I noted when earlier in the year when I booked my rail tickets online and poodled down to the railway station that there's no ticket machine to go and pick them up from, which, considering the largest town in Newquay, we have no ticket machine, which is incredibly shocking. I do think that there's meant to be with the station development, there is a machine that's meant to be coming along. But I would like a letter coming from Newquay Town Council to actually reinforce that message that we do expect a ticket machine going in ASAP. That the reliance on picking your tickets up on the train, I don't think is very satisfactory. And for myself, that I'd ordered tickets actually picking up from Bodmin, coming into town, assuming there'd be a ticket machine. And we got, no ticket office either. Was a wasted journey, waste of time, and quite shocking for the largest town in Cornwall that we have no ticket machine.
Okay, so presumably you're going to propose that.
Yes, so I'm proposing.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Kenny.
Or a question.
Are you seconding?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You are seconding? Yes. Okay, so Councillor Kenny second. Let's go to the debate. Councillor Kenny.
Right, well, I totally agree with you. You may remember, was it last year or the year before, where there was this big to-do about closing ticket offices, and everybody campaigned, and Newquay wasn't one of the ticket offices that was being closed. The reason was because I think Newquay still has a ticket office, they just don't man it. So they've actually closed it by stealth. And I think it's disgraceful that we haven't actually got a ticket office either. So, but I'm very happy. Whether you can have a ticket machine when you haven't got a ticket office, I don't know. I mean, but I don't know how you get them in. But yes, I'm happy to support that, and I think it's disgraceful that this has happened to our station. We do have an opportunity with the metro. Maybe that will allow us to get our ticket office back.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny. I suppose I don't disagree with you, Councillor Thompson, at all, which is rare, right? But what I will say is when I was down at the station a few days ago, I think I noted that they have these new tap and go systems already in place, though they're not active, presumably in readiness for the Mid-Cornwall Metro, where you take your card and you tap and go, and it's supposed to get you the cheapest available rate, which I'm sure will work well between here and Parr, or here and Truro, and here and Falmouth eventually. As for further afield into Exeter and London, I'm not sure that that quite works, and still probably the cheapest alternative is online. I suppose the pragmatist in me says, well, given that Great Western Railway have just been announced to have been going to be publicly taken over again, the likelihood of any investment in any of our stations, or in fact any of the infrastructure, seems very unlikely in the near future, given that I should imagine they'll do what private companies do, which is look to try and protect as much of their profits before they get taken over or taken back into public ownership before that happens. So, so whilst I don't disagree, I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously this was in July. Lots has happened since July. I wonder whether it's been superseded by, by that action really. But I welcome anyone else's thoughts. Councillor Morris.
I think that probably the only reason why we haven't got it, not that I disagree with you, I think the only reason why we haven't got it is we're not really a mainline station. And in the winter, what do we have, 6 trains a day? It's not really, I can understand it in the summer, but why would we need it in the winter? Because there's so few trains.
What I would say is, Newquay is the only branch line in the country that has a direct intercity train, albeit only in the summer. So, yeah, I mean, it is quite a significant station, but I'll take your point. Do you want to come in on that, Councillor?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is for me, I bought my tickets online, and it says, you've got to pick them up from the station. I had a complicated route, changing numerable times to get up to a small station called Bedowen, which is sort of like the other side of Shrewsbury. And it was with 3 train companies. It was a very complicated thing. I was just expecting to rock up and there'd be a ticket machine there, and there wasn't. And, just having a ticket office that, works in the summer is not right either. And it doesn't open at all now. It's just a cubby hole. And it's just, in a modern, day and age, and for sustainability, I expect a ticket machine. And there's lots of very, very small minor stations which have ticket machines as well as, Bodmin has a ticket machine.
Bodmin Parkway is the mainline station.
Okay. So, Councillor Trumbull.
Backing up exactly what Sarah was saying, I travel to Paddington quite frequently, and it is a nightmare trying to sort out tickets. And to go to Bodmin Parkway as my nearest station seems totally ridiculous. It's like a 20-odd mile journey to get to a station, to go anywhere. And if we had a ticket office and a ticket machine at Newquay, it would make an enormous difference for we're supposed to be using public transport, and yet I've got to drive to Bodmin. And on one occasion I drove to Bodmin, but I couldn't park. I then had to hot-foot it to Liskeard in order to catch the train that I'd booked my ticket on. Otherwise I would have had to pay. It's ludicrous. 2025, come on. Yeah.
Can I also just add to that, I support you as well, Councillor Thompson, because a simple ticket machine can't be beyond any, I think opening the ticket office is maybe, a longer term project. But I spoke to a family here who English wasn't their first language. They were here on a lovely holiday. They wanted to get a ticket to go back to Sheffield, where they lived. And I was like, you should do that online. You really should do it. And they weren't able to do it online. They just wanted to speak to someone. And the last thing we want is someone to get, like there was 4 or 5 of them, get on the train and get a fine because they don't have a ticket. And it's a really bad message we're sending. So, let's hope that the renationalisation of our national services might bring a re-look at that.
Wouldn't that be hopeful?
We can put it on the list.
A couple of years, a couple of decades, you know. Councillor North.
To say that, you know, I do agree with you, but it hasn't been there for I don't know how long. So I buy a ticket online, but I put it direct into my wallet on my phone. So then I'm not wasting paper. But also, I use the train quite a lot going from Newquay to Roach because we have to go to meetings there. You can get on the train and the ticket lady or the ticket man, they will sell you a ticket on the train. And I've heard people saying, I want to go to Sheffield, I want to go to Doncaster, and they sell them the ticket there and then on the train. So it's not that they get on and they get a fine, they don't. No, but what I'm saying, that is what happens on that line from Newquay, you know, and I use it regularly.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I mean, just coming back on that, yes, normally I'd have my ticket on my phone, but on this instance and other instances I have, it doesn't give you that option. It says you have to pick your tickets up. So, yeah, you know, it can work both ways. I mean, the other thing is with the new Metro line, with the new GWR contract for that it's not stopping at the minor stations. So I don't know if you know, it's going to be direct from Newquay to Par. It's not going to be stopping at Quintrell Downs and Roach and stuff on the way. So yeah, GWR signed up for that very quickly, and Cornwall Council has failed on that on the line. So so much for it being a college and school stop-off route, because it's not stopping off.
Not sure. I will check on that. I'm not sure that that's 100% correct. I thought that they were, in fact, but I'm sure Councillor Kenny will follow that up with another one for Dan Rogerson. I'm sure he'll enjoy us, won't he? He's obviously having fun with us. So we have a proposer in Councillor Thompson. We have a seconder in Councillor Kenny, and we've had some debate. Shall we have a vote? All in favour? And abstentions? You're there? Abstentions from Councillor Morris.
Sorry, can I just have a little bit of clarity on what the vote is for? I didn't catch that bit.
Well, presumably, write to GWR and ask them to get a ticket machine pretty quickly at Newquay train station. Sorry, Louise. Should have clarified that point. Good, thank you very much. That is carried. And then other Newquay Town Council issues, I just wanted to very quickly, earlier this week, in another council meeting on Monday evening in GNR, an update was given on the devolution working party, where we talked about, Councillor Thompson talked about a number of assets that we were actively in negotiations with Cornwall Council to devolve. One of those assets caused a bit of a stir, and that is the Godolphin football ground. Following that meeting, I was approached by the press for a comment, which I gave. There was an article that went out in the Newquay Voice, which was reasonably accurate. Thank you, Warren. However, it appears after that, certain individuals had misinterpreted what was in that article and what was said. And I just want to be really clear. I know that we've put a statement out on our social media, and we have in fact engaged with both Newquay AFC and the current leaseholders who hold the lease, who are not Newquay AFC. They are in fact two individuals, as I understand it, who I've also been in contact with. There are no plans to kick anyone off of that site. There are no plans to build a play park on that site. The purpose of devolving that asset from Cornwall Council would be to protect it throughout its current lease with its current tenants and beyond, so that the play space is available to future generations. As we know, over the last couple of decades, both through austerity and through development, lots and lots of football grounds have been lost. And I know for a fact that lots of grassroots clubs locally, because they approach me regularly, are struggling to find affordable playing space. So ultimately, Newquay Town Council wants to protect that asset, wants to work with the current leaseholders throughout the rest of their lease, which I understand is almost 10 years, and in fact, work with them to open it up, when it's free for other grassroots sports clubs, so they can have access to adequate playing spaces as well, and so that our young people can grow up in a town that gives them access to healthy outdoor lifestyles. So just wanted to really make that point clear. Andy, did I miss anything? No? Good. Do we think that that's clear enough? Yes, good. And I want to apologise to anyone that has misconstrued that. Certainly that wasn't our intention, and I felt we were reasonably clear, but clearly we were not. Councillor Kenny.
There is another issue, but I will say in passing that Godolphin has the football ground has a charter. So which makes it very, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I don't know how it historically works, but it has a charter. Well, I was just going to say that the Derelict Building Working Party has had its second meeting and it's reporting to planning and licensing. But what we are doing on this one is we are looking to identify a list of derelict buildings and sites. I mean, we came up with about 15 today. Guess what was the top of the list? But we are having a meeting in about 3 weeks' time, and I've just heard from the inspector he's going to come with us because we were asking him, asking whether he knew of derelict buildings. So really, what I wanted to ask the members of the council is, if you'd like to go home and have a think, where do you worry about shops? Is it Andy's Cafe? That is the cafe that the bid were worried about. Is it something, obviously we talked about the Bristol and Skerryvore and all the obvious ones. But if you've got something in your district that has got something that is vaguely, you think is derelict, looks like it could decay, it's looking bad, it's not being looked after properly, we would be very happy to add it to the list. And if you just send any comments you have to Jacob, who's collecting the list for us.
Thank you, Councillor Kenny. Really pleased to hear that that's going on. Andy, you and I received a letter a couple of hours ago. Am I allowed to talk about that or not?
I've literally just opened it. It's completely up to you, but what I would like to do is circulate that to members anyway.
Okay, then let's not talk about it now. Let's talk about it another time. Expect a letter in your inbox imminently from Andy, and we will have a conversation about that at the next meeting. Brilliant, super. So I don't have any chairman's other business. I think I've said enough this evening. And so I will whip round the room. Anyone got any other business? Nope. Abby? Councillor Hubbocks?
Thank you. I saw on Cornwall Council's, I don't know, channels the other day, they have paired with Creative Kerno to build or work on the local plan, and I just think it's worth, if anyone, well, as we speak to people to talk about it, you can sign up for a free spot. It's on the 12th of November, venue to be confirmed, but I think it's a nice opportunity to get our community to engage with what our community is going to be like as we talk to people.
Very good. And just whilst I'm here, I noted that there's a South West Water meeting somewhere in Newquay at the weekend. I think there's one in St Austell. I think you have to sign up to it via our local MP's Eventbrite page. Unfortunately, I won't be here. It's conference season and all. But if anyone is around and wishes to go and talk to South West Water on behalf of the Town Council, please do feel free. Date of next meeting is the 3rd of December. We also have a meeting on the 17th of December, which will be our budget setting meeting. We have 2 meetings, as is the custom in December. Please make sure that you have those in your diary. The budget setting one is particularly important, and I would encourage everyone to engage with that process over the next few months. There will be multiple opportunities at both committee stage and at full council, as well as one-to-one informal meetings, I understand, with the clerk and the RFO, Anne, who will take you through the minute detail of the budgets for every committee. And so if you've got any questions, any thoughts on the way forward, anything that you'd like to change on the budget, please make yourself aware to Andy and Anne to have those meetings and represent yourselves at the committees. Councillor Brooke.
On the forthcoming meetings, can I propose or request that the meetings are advertised in our communication systems such as emails, and we are actually invited to them, so that we can then make an active choice as to whether to attend or not, and so that there can be no doubt that these meetings are available, and we can put it on record that that the the powers that be are there, willing and able to discuss them.
Yeah, good point, Councillor Brooke. Andy, are you okay to pick that one up? So whether we're members of the committee or not, if we can just send out electronic email invites to everyone so that everyone can partake in that process. I think that's really well made, Councillor Brooke. Good, right, so we'll finish there then at 8:35 and have a pleasant evening. Thank you.